All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we're doing section 1.5. It's using problem-solving plan. Using a problem-solving plan. This is important when you're doing word problems, that you've got a way to deconstruct the words so that they turn into numbers or symbols. Okay, step number 1. You're going to read and understand. Read the problem carefully. Identify what you know and what you want to find out. Step 2. Make a plan. Decide an approach to solve the problem. Do you need to add, subtract? How is the equation going to look? Step number 3, solve the problem, carry out your plan. Try a new approach if the first one isn't successful. If you find that the answer doesn't make sense, maybe you added when you should have subtracted, or multiplied when you should have divided. Step 4, look back once you obtain an answer, check that it is reasonable. You guys have to think, is this a made-up answer? Is this doesn't make sense? If you get something that tells you something like 3 times 4 equals 10, you know you did something wrong, right? All right, a formula is an equation that relates two or more quantities. You may find it helpful to use formulas in a problem. Here are a couple formulas below that you might need on your homework tonight. Temperature. If you have something in Fahrenheit and want to make it in Celsius, you've got Celsius equals 5/9 times Fahrenheit minus 32. Simple interest, where you've got the interest equals the principal times the rate times time. You guys have probably heard of distance one. Distance equals rate times time. Do you remember that? How fast you're going. So if you're going 10 miles per hour for 2 hours, you've gone 20 miles. Okay. Rate times time equals the distance that you've gone. That one you'll use a lot. Profit. Profit is income minus expenses. That one you'll use a lot in real life. Okay, I made $2,000 the last 2 weeks, but I had to pay my mortgage payment, which was $1,300. How much do I have left? Not enough to buy that new car, right? Okay. So let's look at an example problem. Okay. You run in a city where the short blocks on the North Street are 0.1 miles long. The long blocks east to west are 0.15 miles long. You run 2 blocks east, a number of short blocks south, 2 blocks west, then back to your starting point. You want to run 2 miles. How many short blocks do you need to run to give you 2 miles? My first thought when I read this is, I don't see the picture in my head. What are we talking about? So what I'm going to do is kind of draw a picture. Okay. So you're running on a city street. You're running north to south, are 0.1 miles long. So I got to remember this. And the long blocks are 0.15. All right. So first I'm running 2 blocks east. So that's the long one. So I go east. 1, 2. All right. A number of blocks south, so I don't know how many I'm running south. This is 2. And 2 long blocks west. So this is 2. And then back to your starting point. So you will run 2 long blocks east, a number south, 2 west. Then we want to go back to our starting point. Okay? How many short blocks should we run so this equals 2 miles? Okay, how long is the long blocks again? 1.5, so I know this is 0.15, 0.15, 0.15, 0.15. Okay? So I want to make it 2 miles. So how many short ones do I have to run? Well, I know that I'm probably going to have to add those 0.15s together, right? That makes sense. And then what would I do to find out how many left I have to run? Subtract. Okay, so we've got 0.15. I'm going to times it by 4. That's the same as adding 4 if I'm up, right? 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 1 is 4, 5, 6. And I have 2 decimal places. Okay, well I want to run 2 miles. So I'm going to take 2 miles and subtract 0.16 from it. Again, I'm doing this all one-handed. Please feel free to use a calculator. If you you want to borrow one of my calculators, you have to give Miss Parmalee something like student ID so she knows she'll give it back. Okay, so 0 minus 0 is 0. Can't minus here. Going to change this. 10 minus 6 is 4. Bring down the decimal point. So I still need to go 1.4 miles. All right. How long are those short blocks again? 0.1. So I've got 0.1, and I need to have so many miles that it equals 1.04. Yes? Because what did you do? We divided, right? Right, and who's got a calculator? What was the answer again? 14 short blocks. Again, he just stuck that in his calculator. Do you see how we got a plan? We put it out. Now, instead of, this is one way to do it. Instead of that, I'm going to write it as an equation. Because we're going to have to get to that point. I know that I'm going to have short and I'm going to have long blocks, right? I want my short blocks plus my long blocks. Now my short I know are 0.1. I know my long are 0.15. And I know my total, I want to go 2 miles. See how I'm doing this? Is this making sense? The length of the short miles times the length of the long, plus the length of the short miles times how many short blocks you go, plus the long miles times how long the long blocks are, equals your total 2 miles. Should I say that again because I got miles mixed up with blocks? Okay. The length of your short blocks times the number of short blocks you go, plus the length of your long blocks times the number of long blocks you go, equals 2. Then from the problem, we figured out that we can replace y with 4, right? Because we know we went 4 long blocks. And then we can simply solve that equation. Is this making sense?
Yeah.
Do you want to do some of these homework problems so you understand how to do this?
Yeah, I know.
I think we should do a couple. Okay. Hey. And I'm doing some of your homework problems with you. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth, right?